Going right into another country music. Old-time country music star Hank Williams paid homage to Louisiana in his song Jambalaya, where he sings, "Goodbye, Joe, we gotta go, mio mio, down the road in our pirogue on the bayou." Following Hank's lead, Ward Gros shares how his love for Louisiana has inspired him to co-write more than a few songs himself. Today, speaking from the Pathways Presentation Mastery Assignment, Managing a Difficult Audience, is Toastmaster Ward Gros with his speech, It's the Singer and the Song. Toastmasters, please welcome Ward Gros.
Thank you. Very good. Toastmasters and guests, do you have a favorite song or do you have a favorite singer? We've had a couple of questions today about singers and songs. We even had Shake Buttons up here trying to coach us through singing. That was quite interesting. And it's always amazing me how our songs and our speeches kind of go together and mean something within our lives. So with that in mind, I'm here to share with you my experience with songwriting. I'm not a great musician.
What qualifies you to be a songwriter?
So that's a great question. And I'm glad you asked it. What do you like about songs?
They're uplifting.
They're uplifting. So I try my best to reach you through writing uplifting lyrics. Thank you very much. With that in mind, songs have been a big part of my family. I sing worse than Shake Buttons, and I've sung before, and I'm not going to put you through it again. However, my father was a professional musician. My brother is a professional musician that's playing at the Howling Wolf tonight in New Orleans to a packed house of over 2,000. And I'm just lucky enough to have both of them in my life and growing up. So songs themselves, guys in the back, if you could just calm it down, please. Let's focus, especially for our musician friends, on songwriting. So our family centered around music. And my father and brother had a special bond. Music was almost a family business. And that way, I mean, when we were in middle school, Dad would come home after playing long hotel gigs at the Ramada Inn and after teaching special ed during the day, and he would go ahead and bring in 45s from the top charts. Anybody remember Casey Kasem? All right, so he still gets broadcasted.
Who's Casey Kasem?
Casey Kasem was a radio personality. Today he would be a podcaster influencer. That's a great question. But at that time, he was a voice of great influence who followed through the top charts. So my dad would bring home a 45. Now I know we have Toastmasters in this room had never seen a 45. But 45s were what we would do instead of stream. And for those who couldn't buy albums or those who didn't need the albums, we would have 45s. And Dad would bring home a 45, and he would ask me to write the lyrics because I always had a proclivity to writing lyrics, which flummoxed my brother to no end. It still flummoxes him to a bit. My brother, on the other hand, was a great musician from the earliest times. Even at 16 years old, he was playing honky-tonks, that's what we would call them back then, or Chitlin Circuit, rock and roll, Freebird covers, Loverboy covers, 38 Special covers, and those kind of things down dirt roads in Louisiana. So, guys, if you could watch the conversation in the back. I'm glad you remember that, though. I'm glad you remember that. With that in mind, we kind of did our own thing. We didn't really talk about what we were doing. We tried to a little bit, but knowing the music didn't impact my way of understanding the lyrics. And knowing the lyrics didn't understand John's impact of knowing the music. We went our different ways. John went to Loyola University in New Orleans, where he had classmates like Harry Connick Jr. He played in the French Quarter. He learned from James Booker. He really studied Dr. John, the Night Tripper, which for New Orleans music fans is a pinnacle. And he even wound up later, years later, playing the same stage as a piano player with Bruce Springsteen, John Fogerty, in tribute to Dr. John. So I've seen John play to a crowd of less than a dozen, to a crowd like over here, thousands. So that's the way the music business goes. John and I went our separate ways. I went to LSU in Baton Rouge, my hometown. He went to New Orleans. While at LSU, I had friends that were in music. I did my best with college radio, which didn't require musicality, but a love for music. And more than a few of my friends had a band together. So this band, I did a road trip with Memphis with these guys.
I don't think so.
But I did, and I've got the proof there, Toastmaster VP. On the back, you'll see my name with singing credits. But the irony to that is I was kicked out of the session because on the first take, we kept the first go-round. But then as we continued as in a recording studio to get better and better with it, they were like, somebody is out of time and off rhythm. That would be me. That would be me. So, but if you'd like to look at the album, you'll see one of my rock and roll heroes on there. Michael Stipe from REM is actually on the same track that I wrote, Dreaming of Eternity. I got out of the Army years later, wound up in New Orleans. Job was in a grunge band at the time, but guess what? He had trouble writing lyrics. So his first band that copied my lyrics was a band called Mulebone, a song called Sunshine Boy, dedicated to my son. Music for me interweaves with family. We also wrote a song together called Her Love Can't Be Denied. Unlike some of the best music writing teams like Lennon and McCartney, Rodgers and Hammerstein, or Jaggers and Richard, we never worked together. It was more like Elton John and Bernie Taupin. We never called what I sent him lyrics, and he didn't ask for them most of the time. Sometimes he would. But it was always about family and about place. That's why I asked. That's fine. Do you like songwriting? Or songs? Do you have your favorite song? Well, let's try. Maybe this will help you. So, one of my favorite things that we wrote together was written for my grandfather, who was a welder on the banks of the Mississippi. And I'll just share this song and ask you to think about your family and your favorite songs and how that brings memories and uplifts you throughout the day. This song is called Roll Away, in dedication to Alton Gros, a welder and hardworking man, my grandfather on my father's side.
Born on the banks of the Mississippi and raised where the riverboats go.
So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate that.